Hello friendos, it's Bella from the Bookish Badger, and today I'm going to be doing a review of We Are the Ants by Shaun David Hutchinson. So before I get into all the review section of it, first let me tell you about the plot. It's about this boy named Henry who gets abducted by aliens, and the aliens say, hey, the world is gonna end in 144 days. We are giving you the option to either press a button to save the world or to not press the button and let the world end. You would think this would be a fairly short book because the automatic answer would be yes, I'll press the button and save the world, but Henry is not so sure that the world is worth saving because his life kind of rots. His grandma has Alzheimer's, his dad left him when he was young, he's always getting bullied in school for the alien abduction thing, which nobody believes, and most of all, his boyfriend Jesse, whom he loved, recently committed suicide. But a new charismatic boy comes into town, making Henry question his resolve, and this book follows Henry in the 144 days leading up to the end of the world should he choose to not press the button. So, as for the concept, why do I keep running into concepts where my interest is so piqued by them and then I actually read it and it just falls totally flat for me? Because that was, again, this book. I ended up giving this 2 stars on Goodreads, and the main redeemable quality for me that saved it from being a 1-star read was the really cool concept. I think for me this is going to be a lot like They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, where I really love the concept and it's one that sticks with me. Like, I will think about it at random times, like, whoa, what if this was the real world? What if this happened to me? But I forget all the details of the actual book because I just didn't really care about any of the characters, so it all just flies out of my head. As for the writing itself, it was not my favorite by any means, which was kind of a clincher. I feel like a lot of the times in YA contemporary, the author tries to come off as very teenagery, and for me that just does not work a lot of the time, and I felt that heavily throughout this book. The writing also felt pretty inconsistent to me, like either he didn't plan out or he wasn't sure how he wanted his characters to be and how he wanted their personalities to be. And I know that might make you think, hey, characters like people are very complex and they can have different layers and whatnot, but in this case, and I have read books where it's done well, but in this case it felt out of character rather than a complex or deep character who was having development. Also, the writing device used to wrap up this story felt so unrealistic to me compared to how the rest of the story was written and all that the main character shares in the rest of the story. It totally felt like it was just tacked on because he didn't know how else to end it, and I didn't buy it being realistic for a second. Now, as for characters, almost all of the characters in this book felt terribly underdeveloped to me, except for one character, and that is Diego, who is the aforementioned charismatic new boy in town, but everybody else felt underdeveloped, as in they all spoke in the same voice, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't matter if it was Henry or his best friend or his grandmother, mother, science teacher, or whatever. It all sounded like they were all speaking in the same voice, as though they were the same character, and none of them had different factors or personalities about them. They all just spoke the same. So if somebody read this aloud to me and I didn't already know what the dialogue of all the characters were, I would not be able to distinguish the fact that the words that that person was saying was coming from different characters. Also, do you ever feel like a piece of dialogue or scene is repeated over and over again? Because also, do you ever feel like a piece of dialogue or scene is repeated over and over again? Because also, do you ever feel like a piece of dialogue or scene is repeated over and over again? Because there was so little to no character development throughout this book that kept happening right up until the end. Like, seriously, every single time I thought, oh hey, that might be a little bit of character development, it was like, let's shoot into this scene again, we fooled you. I also felt nothing from the characters making their actions and motivations feel pretty false. For instance, Henry's mother is supposed to be very passionate about cooking and everything, and Henry tells us that and all this, but we never really feel that from her. And Jesse, Henry's boyfriend who killed himself, is supposed to be this perfect, awesome, wonderful, amazing guy, but we never see that from Jesse. We're just told by Henry that he was this perfect, awesome, amazing, wonderful guy, and it just makes everything feel very surface level and very tell and not show. As for the mental health rep in this book, I can't personally speak on it. It shows different things like depression and anxiety are both heavy themes in it, but I have to believe that there are better books out there for mental health rep. I don't know how good this is for the showing of the actual conditions, but as for it being a vehicle between the writing and the characters and the repetitiveness and the writing devices used, I have to think that there are better books out there if mental health representation is what you're looking for. To conclude, I love the basic idea of this book, the question of whether or not humanity is in too deep to be saved, the existentialism question of what even matters. I just wasn't into just about everything else about this book. Alright, that's pretty much it for this video. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions, if you've read it, if you haven't read it, if you're thinking about reading it, if you have read it and you liked it or disliked it, any of it, all of it, please leave it in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to give it a thumbs up, do not hesitate to subscribe for more content coming soon, and I will see you in the next video. Bookish Badger, signing off.